Bill Good with Christy Clark, Premier of British Columbia, in studio. Just before I open the phones, though the phones are open and people are lined up, but HST, biggest blunder in Mr. Campbell's time in office, cost him his job. Why is it taking so long to get rid of it?
Two reasons. One, we're not at this dance alone. So we have to negotiate this with the federal government. That's part of it. I tell you, Bill, if I could snap my fingers and get rid of the HST tomorrow, I would do it. Because we want to make this transition happen as fast as I possibly can. And I know Kevin Falcon does too. We have to negotiate with our partners in the federal government. The second thing is, though, going down to the HST, I'm told, was a lot easier because essentially what you were doing is you were just raising the existing, they were just sort of putting it on the footprint of the GST and raising it by a couple points. Well, that's different going backward to the PST. You have to recreate an entirely new tax system again. So, we're trying to get it done as quickly as we can. The commitment is to get it done by March 2013, have it done and out of the way. But if we could possibly get it done sooner, I know. Well,
meanwhile, you collect a lot of money.
This wasn't a secret, Bill. I mean, the independent panel was pretty clear. British Columbians knew. We all knew when we went to the polls that they said it would take 2 years to get past the HST. So, we're doing it much faster than was anticipated. If we could get it done in a week, I'd be there for it.
Can't you find some interim relief from it for people like home builders who are being seriously hurt by a tax that we all know is eventually going to be gone?
Well, I think as we work through the process, you'll start to see, people will start to get a sense of where we're going. We're getting closer to some of those things. People will, we're going to have a budget pretty soon, and there'll be more details, I think, about some of those issues in that.
You say you want open government, yet it took Jonathan Fowling 19 months to get his Freedom of Information on the HST brochure. How is that open?
It's not. As Kevin Falcon said, and I love this quote, he said, just get the darn thing out. Or stupid thing out, I think he said. I agree. I mean, I just think
you're the premier.
Yeah, but you know what, Bill? We have 30,000 employees in government, and it's a big culture we're trying to change. So I'm doing everything in my office that I can, and we are pushing that down through the bureaucracy and through government over time. But I mean, it's not something that happens overnight when you've got a 30,000 strong organization. We are going to get there with open government. And one of the things we need to do is tighten up what we're doing on freedom of information, absolutely. But, it's been 11 months. We've made big progress. We're going to keep going.
To calls, Lorraine.
Good morning. I had a question around the whole child care subsidy issue and the all-day kindergarten. The all-day kindergarten has really damaged the child care centers, especially the ages 3 to 5, because the all-day kindergarten is basically the same program as what we do. So we've really suffered as a nonprofit, and the subsidies have not been revisited in years. So I have families that come to get child care, but then they're maybe just over the cusp to get the amount of money that they need, and then they can't keep their job because they can't qualify for subsidy. So is subsidy going to be revisited, and is the child care grants maybe going to become a little bit more stable as opposed to being based on enrollment and how many children you have on any given month?
I hope we can revisit it at some point, Bill. We will not be able to do it this year, though, because we are just too tight for money. And so we're working really hard to try and balance this budget. And it's been very, very difficult. Although, so we've got to look after our we've got to be fiscally prudent on one side in terms of spending. But I hear what she's saying. I mean, I sent my son to childcare too. I understand the impact that all day K has had on childcare centers, and the impact of always trying to be adjusting your numbers and never knowing, in some cases, when you're going to have how much money you're going to be getting. So on the second thing, stability and making sure that we find a better way to help childcare centers plan. Yes, we can work on that now. In terms of increasing the childcare subsidy, this is one of those very, very tough decisions that one of the 1,000 tough decisions I'm going to have to make where I have to say no because we just don't have the money right now.
DJ.
Good morning, Christy. Good morning, Bill.
Morning, DJ.
Good morning. I am scared to death of this next election. Every government in history has made a mistake here and a mistake there, but the difference to me is how do they govern in general. And I look back to the 90s, the NDP took over, and within 2 years, we, in boom times, had the worst economy in the country. You guys took over, and it was immediately hit by avian flu, SARS, bovine crisis, the pine beetle epidemic on September 11th. Yet you still, in a worldwide economic drought, took us to the best economy in the country, which meant that people are working and they can pay tax.
Okay, DJ.
And these guys, they're going to run us into no economy and no jobs for anybody. And
I said we were going to try to not stack calls or take stacked calls. That was an overtly friendly call.
Well, I hope amongst your listeners, Bill, there are some people who care about our economy enough that they're concerned about the threat, the very real risky threat that Adrian Dix poses to our economy.
But I want questions, not speeches.
Okay.
Paul.
Fair enough.
Paul.
Hi, good morning. Got a quick question. The Highway 1 Port Mann upgrade improvements, the actual toll is to pay for the complete infrastructure. Now, when I work with a coworker, we both get on at First Avenue. He gets off at Cape Horn. I get off at 160th. The difference between us is $1,500 per year taken out of my disposable income. He gets the full benefit of the upgrade of the highway, but I have to bear not only the cost of the bridge, but of the highway itself. That's
a really good point. You have to find a fairer way to pay for infrastructure. It's not fair for somebody south of the Fraser to be paying a toll when people are driving the Sea to Sky Highway, they're driving the Ironworkers Bridge, the First Narrows Bridge, all the other bridges, and not paying tolls.
Well, the previous government's policy was to only have tolls on new highway infrastructure.
That was your government.
That was provincial. Well, I wasn't part of it for the last 5 years, Bill. I was here filling in for you lots of times.
Beating up on that government at times.
Well, on things that I disagreed with, absolutely. So I think, and that was the policy, and there's some logic to that, which is previous generations, for example, the Ironworkers Bridge, have been paying for that for years through their taxes. And there's adding a toll to it doesn't add any new service. The Port Mann Bridge and the Gateway project is going to mean huge advantages for people. It's going to mean way better service. People are going to save over an hour a day.
Are you going to change the policy?
No, we're not going to change the policy.
You're not. So people south of the Fraser are going to continue to pay what I think is an unfair price.
Well, the thing is, Bill, is fiddling with it at this stage is going to be, it would be very, very difficult. And I think, the government of the day came up with the fairest policy they possibly could, remembering that the average commuter is going to save over an hour a day more to spend with your kids or going to work. And I think a lot of people on both sides of the Fraser River, whichever direction they're traveling in, will say that that's worth it.
But people make the same argument. It's much quicker to drive to Whistler now, or to Pemberton, than it was. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent on that, no toll.
Do you think we should toll the Sea to Sky Highway?
Yes.
At what rate?
I don't know. I think you have to determine the rate based on some sort of fairness. You don't just toll the Sea to Sky. I think you have to toll the other bridges. You have to put road usage tolls on, or a carbon tax, something other than just tolling the Port Mann.
Well, you know what? I think that's a debate that is beginning to unfold, particularly at the TransLink table, because they have the ability to place tolls on most of the roads in the province that are the existing ones, and on many of those main arteries. So and I know that's a debate that Peter Ladner pushed when he was there, and it's a debate that many other local politicians are talking about. So I'm sure that debate is going to unfold.
Much more with the Premier and your calls right after the news headlines next. A special network edition of the program this morning with BC Premier Christy Clark, and we'll get right back to your calls in a moment. Teachers, they're spending a lot of money telling us they should get more money. They claim to be 9th in pay in the country. Where do you stand on teachers?
Well, they're 4th in pay. And
they say 9th.
Well, yeah, because they started adding in the Northwest Territories, Yukon, and Nunavut. And the reason teachers there are paid so much is because it's such a far-flung place, and it's really, really hard to attract people. So, I mean, the teachers BC Teachers Place hasn't changed, except that their accounting for it has changed because they've added in two provinces in one territory that weren't there before. So they are fourth. And where I stand on that is pretty clear. We're putting $165 million into classrooms to deal with class composition, to support teaching assistants, to make sure that it's easier for teachers to be able to do their jobs. But we are not able to give teachers the raise that they want. $2 billion is what teachers are asking for at the table, and we just don't have the money for that.
So no raise for teachers.
Well, Bill, in order to give a $2 billion raise to teachers, I would have to go back to British Columbians and ask them for more tax money. Ask them to pay more, to take more money off their paycheck. That is what Susan Lambert says she thinks I should do. I disagree with that. And so we're not able to give teachers a raise. We can, though, find ways to try and make classrooms better and make it, make schools a place where teachers are more thoroughly enjoying their work every single day. And that's what the $165 million is all about.
Someone emailed me this morning to ask if you had so little faith in the public school system that you put your own son in private school.
I put my son in a Catholic school because I want him to have a faith-based education. And so he goes to a little Catholic school, 200 kids. And it's, for me, it was a choice that I made because I want him to be able to have a faith-based education. That's my personal choice. It's my personal view. And that's one of the things that we allow in British Columbia is we allow people to have more choices. And you can't get a faith-based education in the public school system here.
How long are you going to wait before you legislate teachers back to, well, they're still at work, but to end the strike?
Well, we'll have to, we've sent out a fact finder. And that fact finder is going to come back with a report for us. And that will, after we receive that report, we'll have to make a decision about what to do next. And as I said in my opening comments, Bill, I am not that hopeful because 73 sessions of negotiating and absolutely, almost no movement at the table. That's not cause for optimism.
Riley, good morning.
Oh, hello there.
Yes, go ahead.
So anyways, I was just wanting to say that Christy, you're in a unique position to be able to tell the world that we will not spend any more money developing fossil fuel infrastructure. And instead we can start seriously investing in renewable energy, creating possibly many jobs. We know Harper's stance on the Enbridge pipeline. Can you tell us right now that you do not support the Enbridge pipeline? And this is not about waiting for environmental assessment. That's in. We know that fossil fuels, we can't keep using them. And we can create jobs using renewable energy.
Well, I've been really clear about my position on the Enbridge pipeline, which is we are not going to prejudge the process. The environmental review process exists for a reason. It's so that we can understand the costs and benefits to British Columbia potentially. And so I know Adrian Dix is happy to prejudge the process. He knows that how it's all going to turn out. Well, you know what? We have a process so that we can actually understand what the impacts of the pipeline will be. And I'm in a unique position as Premier because it's my job to make sure that we are making the best decisions for British Columbians. We need to do that when we have all the information. And so we're going to wait to see what the NEB discovers and what we hear in the hearings. I think that'll give us a much better sense of the potential risks and perhaps the potential benefits for British Columbia.